Welcome back to Next Level Pets, your home for all things related to living the best life you can with your pets, and also what to do before our pets leave our lives, and most importantly, what to do afterwards. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my program, Forever in Our Hearts. It's a healing program for grieving pet owners that I built on my own journey of healing from the loss of my cat, Dublin. And what I came up with over time is what I call EPA, and that's education, purpose, and action. And you'll hear me talking a lot about action when it comes to this entire channel and its overriding ethos. So in my program, and this is kind of just how I went through my own journey, and that's basically informed the structure of how I now help other grieving pet parents. But first, I needed to educate myself on what I was going through, and I was really surprised at kind of how difficult it was for me to get that education. After reading books, talking to my therapist, talking to several therapists, reading as many articles as I could on pet loss and grief in general. And then really finding out more about the exact unique nature that makes pet loss so different than other forms of loss. And I go over that in other videos. One of the main elements, just to be brief, is guilt. The pet loss experience typically, and when I describe things, please understand this is in the most general sense. Obviously, everyone's situation is different. Every loss is unique to the person who undergoes that loss. But in general, what a big difference between human loss and pet loss was guilt. As I've mentioned before, I lost my mom due to cancer in 2020 after just a few months. That was in March, and in December of the year before, I had to put my cat down. I never felt guilty that my mom had cancer, but I felt overwhelming guilt about putting my cat down. That it was somehow my fault, that I did it too soon or I waited too long, that I should have taken him to the vet more regularly, that I should have done more, focused on his diet, all these things, and that just kept going on and on and on and on. So really learning about the different types of guilt that we experience after we've lost a pet was helpful, simply because I knew what I was facing. So every time that guilt experience or those feelings cropped up, I finally had a name for it, so I could identify it and not let it just kind of control me. Another thing is disenfranchised grief, and that's the very specific grief that we feel when we lose a pet, which is quite different than grief typically associated with human loss. So the education was very important for me to get that part down. I then, for a while, even having that, I then still struggled until I finally came across the purpose of why I wanted to heal and how to do it. And what I mean by that is I finally realized that Dublin wouldn't want to watch me just sitting here suffering. That's not what he would want for me, and that's not how I could honor him and remember him in the best way that I could. We as pet owners, we have this fantastic amnesia that we think our pets are going to be with us forever, and in the majority of the time, that's just simply not true. But of course, we never think about that when they're with us, when they're healthy, when they're young, and everything's great. But the fact of having pets and what makes it so precious is that our time with them is finite. We will most likely outlive our pets. So just knowing that when I finally decided that Dublin would want me to be happy, I don't want him looking down and seeing me just miserable over and over again. So that's where I found the purpose. The love that I had for Dublin, that I still keep, was the motivation for me to start healing. I wanted to make him proud. I wanted to let him know that I appreciated every moment that we spent together, and that I wasn't going to let his loss, define that experience. So often we can just stay stuck in, last few months we're with our pet, or the final experience of when we have to say farewell, and that can almost, just block out the entire relationship and all the love and all the joy and all the beauty that we share with our pets. We get stuck in those final moments, and it's not fair to us or to our pets. So that's the purpose element of my program. And then I was like, okay, now what? Action. So that's where it's EPA, education, purpose, and action. And then I started developing things that I could do, whether it was writing exercises, farewell letters, ways to honor Dublin, and I mean that in memorial sense. And I have tons of ideas and different suggestions on how to do that in different ways that may work for you. It's also been great to get different ideas from the people I've worked with and feedback on unique ways that they've been able to honor their pets. And then, there's also different actions, habits of self-care that I'm a big advocate of, because that's a way that in our pet's absence, we can still honor them. So what do I mean by that? Like, if you used to play with your animals or take them for a walk, while we're grieving, while we're healing, while we're mourning, we have to give that same love back to ourselves, just as your animals would want you to be happy. So not to sound stupid, but instead of taking our dog for a walk, we need to take ourselves for a walk. Instead of making sure that our dogs are fed, we got to make sure our pets are fed. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our own nutrition. The same level of love and care that we as pet parents gave to our pets when they're gone, we have to refocus that love back on ourselves. And that's the greatest gift that we can not only give to ourselves, but to the memory of our pets. And we all know that's exactly what they would want for us. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I was able to heal from the loss of Dublin, and heal with grace, and heal in a way that I'm proud of, and that I know he is, and that I've been able to share with hundreds of other grieving pet parents. And hopefully, if you're going through the loss of a pet, that my videos will be of some counsel and some inspiration or guide for you. I'm here to support you in any way I can. And even if everything is great with your pet, hopefully everything that I go over in my videos will be a great template for you to not only appreciate the moments you have now, but to build a different kind of perspective and perception and willingness to heal. Once you had to say your farewell to your pet. So again, thank you. Please comment down below. Ask me any questions you'd like. I love getting feedback. There'll be contact information in the videos. And you can always visit my website to learn more about, the Forever in Our Hearts program. Thank you so much.